Start recording here.
Okay. Namaste, Beloo ji. Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us today. I just want to give all the parents a brief introduction of Dr. Beloo Mehra. She's a senior associate at the Sri Aurobindo Foundation for Indian Culture, where she's very deeply involved in curriculum, content creation, designing programs of various kinds for different kinds of audiences, research, publication. She edits several magazines, writes articles for several publications. So she's really the perfect person who could have helped us put this program together. And she also has, in terms of her educational background, she has a PhD in education from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, and her dissertation was actually regarding Indian American school children. So she's, in so many ways, the perfect person to work with our group of children. So I just wanted to give you a little brief introduction about Beloo ji. Let me turn it over to you, Beloo ji, so that you can talk a little bit about yourself and the structure and content of the program as well, and then we'll move into a little bit of Q&A.
Sure. Yeah. Namaste, everyone. Am I clearly audible?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Perfect.
Okay. Okay. Great. So thank you, Priyamvada ji, for introducing me to this group. I'm looking forward to welcoming all of you and the families, the children who come to Pondicherry soon, next week. As Priyamvada ji mentioned, my doctoral research was in this larger area of Indian American experience, acculturation or bicultural experience in the United States. And I think this was at that time, by the time when I was doing my research, there was probably only one major study that had been done in California. This was one of the earlier ones in late 90s that I did in Midwest. And my work mostly involved looking at, I was also studying through the schools, talking to the children in the classroom, observing them, talking to their teachers, talking to their administrators, and also from the family side. So it was more on that home-school relations and how children and their parents, they kind of work between the boundaries of two cultures and how the two cultures either coalesce, work together, or sometimes come in conflict, and what are the experiences. So it was a qualitative study working for more than a year with 4 particular families. So I have a somewhat good understanding of that bicultural experience, or that transition sort of. I think I once wrote a paper based on some findings from the study, and I called it as lives in transition. So there is some kind of a transition always happening from one background to another. But things have also changed in the last year, couple of decades and so in the US, and also certainly in India. So I think this experience that we are trying to create for these children, this immersion experience through UnmeSa, would be really an interesting, if someone were to do kind of as an outside observer, do a qualitative research on this, it would be interesting to see what they find. If they were to interview these children afterwards, certainly before and during the program itself, what's going on with them in terms of their sort of inner and outer experiences, because culture is not something that just works, it's not a mental, intellectual experience. It shifts things from inside as well. So this kind of it would be an interesting study if someone would have the time and willingness to do something like that. So as far as my work at SAFIC, what Priyamvada ji mentioned, yes, I work on several different projects with UnmeSa. I've been involved right from the beginning, from starting, writing the concept paper, figuring out what are because we work in an institution that is based on the vision and work of Sri Aurobindo and the mother, and their work in the area of education is really quite exemplary and quite innovative. It's sort of like education of the future. So inspired by that, I had put together that concept paper looking at what kind of educational experiences we would like to create for the children of this particular age group, and from both from an intellectual, emotional, physical, psychological perspective, and as far as possible, a little bit of what Mother and Sri Aurobindo called as the psychic education, something like education that I wouldn't call it really like a spiritual education, but education that helps all the learners. And this is not meant for children, for adults also. We are all learners. So education that helps us go inward a little bit, and also helps us develop the kind of soul values that would help us that would help us transform from inwardly out. So we've kind of kept a variety of educational experiences, variety of learning experiences that will help us do that. So as we go along, I can talk a little bit more about that, but I think in terms of the beginning introduction, this is fine. So if there are questions, I'm happy to address.
Thank you, Beloo. So I think in connection with what you just said, many of the parents will already be aware that we have certain major modules in the program. We have a Sanskrit module, we have intellectual Shastra, scientific disciplines, so there's math and various other scientific subjects. Then we have history, we have temple architecture, which has proven to be extremely popular. Then there's art, and then a little bit of Sri Aurobindo's philosophy as well. So there's all these different components, and one of the questions that we have been getting quite every now and then from parents is, can we look at the syllabus? Can we see what the schedule is like? So could you talk a little bit about the schedule in terms of what are the different things that the students will be doing, the different kinds of activities and so on, and also when they might actually get a copy of the actual schedule.
Yeah, sure. So the schedule for the program is almost ready. We are just waiting for a couple of confirmations from one or two resource persons who are coming from outside, and that may change just one or two things, but that's not going to change the structure of the program as such. It's just shifting of the dates. So hopefully in a day or two we will have that. We'll have that taken care of. So basically, I think what we would do is when the parents get here, when the families get here, we'll give them all a copy of the full schedule. And there are just some cosmetic changes we need to do in terms of so that they don't need to bring the whole 4 pages. What we have done is put the schedule on 1 page for a week. So they can just kind of carry that 1-page schedule for that particular week and leave the rest at their guest house. And we'll also try to put up a weekly schedule at the guest house bulletin board itself. So that way they will know what time, what activities are. So I think once we have a clarity, we'll have copies for all the parents all the families when they get here on 28th. And a few other things in terms of, we'll also give them a few other things in terms of what I think we had sent a document earlier, which will probably be revised because that was written for the planning things. So the participant code of conduct in terms of what we expect students to do while they are here in terms of discipline, in terms of taking care of things, because it's not like any other college or university. So there is a certain ambiance that is preserved there. And so, with regard to that, what are some of the do's and don'ts that are expected of the children? And same thing with the guest house, because these guest houses are part of Sri Aurobindo Society. So there are certain rules, and I think we had sent all that information out in terms of what is not permitted in the guest houses. Certainly there are time restrictions also, especially the night time. So those kinds of things we'll be handing out again once they get here. Now, just a few things about the program, the syllabus itself. So in addition to the areas that you had mentioned, Priyavadaji, we also have several sessions dedicated to arts. And that is very deliberate because one of the things Sri Aurobindo and the mother, when they talk about integral education, they talk about is what is called as, the vital education. So just let me see. Yeah. So I don't know if the screen is visible. Um, is it visible, the screen that I have on right now?
Yes, it is visible.
Vital education, yeah. So in the fourfold education, actually it's fivefold, but I'm just going to focus more on the physical, vital, mental, and the psychic, especially the first three, the physical, mental, and vital. So physical education we are taking care of through the yoga and kalaripat and free times for their own like a jog on the beach or things like that. But also the vital education is that component which we try to bring in through the arts education. And Mother and Sri Aurobindo talked about two aspects of vital education. One is the character building, the personality building aspect of vital education, for which again the development of senses play an important role. And the other part is the gradual progressive awareness of all the movements within, the emotional side within, how we react to whatever is going on, how we respond to whatever stimulus comes to us, and things like that. So arts education really, from that perspective, helps us to develop and fine-tune our sense of observation, our sense of harmony, our sense of beauty. So it's not just only to develop an intellectual or a mental appreciation of the great artistic and aesthetic traditions of Indian culture, but it also serves the purpose of growing and transforming from within. So those were the two reasons why we kept quite a bit of focus on arts education. And it's also not only just attending lectures or listening to or participating in demonstrations given by others, but also creating, co-creating art. So we have sessions like, like an experiential session on kolam, and then also planning a cultural performance. So that gives us a good opportunity to give them few tips from Natya Shastra, for example. So that's one way to bring in Shastras and at the same time give them an opportunity to participate actively in creating something artistic, aesthetic, the experience of it. So that's how we, sorry, that was my phone making some noise. So that's how we kind of brought in that component. So we have some experts coming in. Anuja Kamath, most people are familiar with through her YouTube videos. She's very popular. And also the Yogacharya Anand Bhavanani ji, who will be coming with his wife, and they are both into classical dance, Bharatnatyam, and their yoga school also. They have a dance Bharatnatyam school as well. So they'll be speaking about the dance thing. So, and then we have a couple of local artists, very well, very well grounded in the inner dimension of art. They both are painters. Preeti Ghosh, you can actually see some of her work displayed in one or two rooms in Sri Aurobindo Society also, and in the Sri Aurobindo Ashram dining room. Just recently, she had a wonderful exhibition here in Pondicherry. I think it just ended yesterday or day before yesterday. So she's a very senior artist, and just listening to her in terms of how her art is connected with her inner journey. So that could be very inspiring and educational for everyone, and certainly for the learners. So those are some of the ways we are bringing in the art component. And certainly then there are the two major field trips to Mahabalipuram and to Uttarameru. Certainly to Mahabalipuram, it's good exposure to Pallava art and architecture and sculpture. I recently met with a person here who's very active. I mean, he runs a local art gallery here. He's a big name here in Pondicherry, and I told him about this particular program, and he said, we are welcome to bring children anytime. In the evenings, he'll keep the gallery open. So there are some programs that will be coming up. Lately, he's been very actively involved with giving space to a lot of local artists who are coming up, who are not necessarily that famous. So he's been having shows at his gallery. So, and they'll be having some more shows. So we can keep on announcing. These are activities that children and their parents can also do in the evenings. And it's not very far from the ashram area. It's walkable distance. So those are the various activities we want to bring in.
Yeah, I think that those are those are all activities that would be a nice balance for especially some of the harder more academic kind of more rigorous courses, because we do have a very solid math section and some of the other sciences and so on. So all of this, some of the art will be a nice balance for that too, where kids, on one side they're learning something very technical, and then here they can be creative and feel free to explore and enjoy. So it's a very nice balance that we have there.
Yeah, both right and left brain.
Right.
Yeah.
So one other question that has come up is in terms of contact information, because when parents drop their children off, some of them will be staying on, but some of them will not be in Pondicherry. So would they have phone numbers for the program facilitators, emergency contacts, things like that? So could you talk a little bit about the contact information that will be provided?
Yeah, certainly. That will be part of the materials that we'll hand out at the orientation, a list of all program staff, starting from Director Dr. Sampadanand Mehra, my contact information, and Ranjana, who is another member of SAFIC team. She'll be helping us with some of the experiential sessions. She's a yoga teacher and a graphic designer and into crafts as well. So Shweta, who will be their main chaperone, she's the young woman coming from Nashik. She's also a yoga teacher. She will be actually conducting the yoga sessions for the children, because this way they can just do it at the on the terrace of International Guest House itself, rather than coming. So then, rather than coming to the society campus, where if Ranjana were taking it, we would have to do that. So this way they can just be at the guest house in the morning, do yoga with Shweta, and then get ready and come straight to the society campus for their breakfast and classes. So yeah, so certainly Shweta's telephone numbers and WhatsApp number and things like that. And also some of the other staff member at SAFIC, like there's one person who helps us with some of the administrative work, Basudevji. And then also the guest house staff. My guess is they might be changing security throughout the day, like, it might be shift duties. So we'll find out maybe on 27th who's going to be there for that week, or a couple of people who will be there for that week. And also the main person at the guest house, the person who looks after the bookings and all, so their contact information. So we'll give them a sheet. Maybe also include the names and telephone numbers for a couple of doctors who are on the society campus itself, the 2 homeopathic doctors we had mentioned, but also a list of local nearby dispensaries or clinics or hospitals. So we'll hand out this information. I think some of it was probably sent, if I remember correctly, or not, maybe.
I think we had a partial list.
Okay.
But some numbers are still pending.
Okay.
I think. So,
okay. Yeah. So we'll dig out that document. Yeah. I think Sampaji had prepared that document. So we'll dig out that document and update it and include other things. So these are the works. And also I'm thinking, if possible, I'll put together a document, or I'll have a volunteer put together a document of the bios of some of the faculty members who will be teaching. So we have received some we'll take from the web. So we'll just so that they'll know who these people are.
Yeah, that'll give students and parents some idea of the background of all the faculty members. Also, in terms of things to bring, we had sent in our program handbook, there's a fairly exhaustive list, but I think you had a couple of good suggestions in terms of light, casual, Indian clothing, chappals. If you could talk a little bit about some of those things, which would be good to bring.
Sure. I think certainly what we were discussing yesterday, because we are, it's going to be hot. It is still hot. So casual, cool summer clothing, preferably cotton. That would be my strong recommendation. But the mosquitoes are not that big a problem when the weather is that hot, but lately we've had few showers, though this is not really the monsoon season here, but when the showers come, we do sometimes get mosquito issues or something like that. So just things that, so that they are not, I don't want to say like half sleeves t-shirts would be ideal so that they still can breathe through it and at the same time some skin is covered. Those kinds of things would be good. And chappals or sandals that can be easily removed, because certainly throughout the society, wherever their classrooms would be, they'll be required to remove the chappals. Many other places in the ashram area, if they plan to explore in the evening, they would probably be asked to remove the chappals. So, and shoes and socks are certainly not advisable in this kind of humid, hot weather. But since there are a couple of field trips, it would be nice to, if they want to kind of just run around or something, because certainly, like at Mahabalipuram, there is, because these are all ASI monuments, so they have lawns and things, even though they may not permit all the time for people to walk around. But if they want to bring in shoes for that purpose, for their field trips and all, but that is there. And also, since we will have cultural performance, it would be nice if they would be able to bring a couple of Indian attire, simple, casual, something that they are comfortable in it. It doesn't need to be very jazzy or anything, but it would be nice to kind of have a Indian attire kind of during the cultural performance. And it also depends on what they choose to do in terms of performance and what kind of if they require like a dhoti or something, some of the things we can provide, but something that fits them better might be even better, because we may not have their size right and things like that. Also, refillable water bottles, just from an environmental point of view, also it would be good. Most places here, they just keep a cup or something like that, where you have to drink it like the Tamil way, right? Just not touch the glass. So I'm not able to do it. But we all carry bottles. So that would be nice. So they can easily fill up the water bottles. They have filters installed everywhere. So, and then just keep them with them. And that way, no disposable cups and things are needed. Personal items, medicines, personal hygiene items that they may be very much used to. Sometimes those brands may not be easily available, because we would not want them to go to a bigger departmental store, which is in town. We would like them to, whatever they need to get those from the stores that are near in the ashram area itself. So it would be nice if they carry with them for the period of their duration any personal items that they definitely need. Sometimes it's a particular brand of soap or a shampoo or feminine hygiene items, something like that. So, and also sunglasses or hats, especially when it gets, lately the sun hasn't been that strong, but we never know. In August, it could change. Sunglasses or hats, especially when they're going out on the field trips. So that would be necessary. Recommended, I would say. But the more, so this is the physical part of things to pack. And then there is the inner, the mental attitude, the willingness, the readiness to experience, to get immersed, and to even if part of the experience includes a little bit of unsettling thing in the beginning, it's part of that experience. So the shift that they might experience. I don't know how often these children travel to India and for how long and what their experience is like. But this will be somewhat different. They are coming here not just for holiday or vacation or meeting with their extended family members, but this is a program of study with fun, with immersion, with, really soaking in what this place has to offer, both in terms of the intellectual component and also in terms of the cultural, spiritual, transformative component. So that willingness, openness, readiness is really important if that can be packed somehow. So that's what I would say.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So before I open it out to parents to ask their questions, I think one thing we would like to get a clarification from all the families is regarding the arrival time, because in our own WhatsApp group, we've had a few people saying the 27th and some saying the 28th. So if we could just get a response from everybody as to whether they're coming in on the 27th or the 28th, then that would also help us in terms of, seeing if transportation needs to be arranged on the 27th to get people from Chennai to Pondicherry and so on. So I'm not, since I'm dialing on my phone, I'm unfortunately not at the webinar screen, but maybe Sangeeta Bhagini, you could tally the responses if people can reply in the chat box and just specify 27th or 28th and what time.
Yeah, sure. I think it will be best if they actually just reply on the WhatsApp group that we have, so we can keep track of it there.
Okay, that's fine. We can, depending on the response, we can see if we need to arrange any transportation on the 27th, because that was going to be another question, depending on the response, whether that's something we need to arrange or not. So let me turn it over to any Q&A from parents at this point.
May I just say one thing about this 27th or 28th arrival thing? Because if most of them are coming on 28th and we plan to do the orientation on 28th afternoon, we would need to know maybe a day or two ahead that confirmation, because Sunday is, there's no staff may really at Sri Aurobindo Society other than the security. So in case we need some help, we'll have to tell them. And Saturday is also a half day there. So in terms of setting up the room and things like that. So if we need to know, if we need some help from the rest of the staff there, the janitorial staff, so we would need to know by Friday, India time, so we can get the things done.
Yes, if people can respond, if people can respond on the WhatsApp group ASAP, really, some responses have already come in. But if we can get everybody to respond as to when they're planning to be in Pondicherry, that would help us. The idea basically is that if all of you are coming in on the 27th, the children can check in on the night of the 27th into the guest house. They have that night to unpack, settle in, get comfortable, and then we can have the orientation in the morning, and they just start the program. If anybody's coming on the 28th, then the orientation, which is currently scheduled for 9 o'clock in the morning, might be a little hectic, so we may have to push it out into the afternoon. So that's basically why we need to know if any changes need to be made. So if you can all respond in the WhatsApp group, that would be great. And yes, let's turn it over to any parent questions at this point. And Sangeeta ji, if you can take over and read the questions, because I am not able to see them.
Sure.
On my phone.
You know what? I don't have any questions right now.
I think there are plenty of questions from the audience. I can see some people have raised their hands.
No, there were questions because there was like, are we muted before? And then there was a thing that somebody was not able to hear the audio. But after that, I have not seen any questions.
Okay. If you have any questions, I think it'll be good if you can type in your questions onto the chat window, and we can ask those questions to Beloo ji and get it all answered.
Vibha Shivaranjan has raised his hand, so uh, please go ahead, type your question, and we can answer it. Ganesh ji, please type your question, and then we can answer it. Uh, you've self-muted yourself, so yeah, Ganesh ji, I think yeah, you can speak up. Actually, I unmuted you.
Speak. Hello, my name is Mani. This girl is wife.
Hi,
How
Vani.
many books? How many books we can give the kids? Do we need to buy? How many? It is saying on books, pens and pencils. How many books do we need to buy for kids? Notebooks, I mean.
I can take that question, or Beloo ji, you want to take that? You don't have to buy any books for the kids. The material is taken care of at our end.
No, I think she's talking about notebooks, where it's more like record books. I think maybe having one record book per kid would be a good idea.
Okay, one book per kid is good. And what about their laundry expenses and all? Do we need to pay that earlier, or is it including what we paid before, or do we need to pay at the end of their section?
This probably you will have to pay at the end of this section. We'll know the total
Oh,
cost. Yeah.
sure. Thank you.
I think the laundry question came up earlier. Beluji, did you have anything to say around that? And know what the procedure is on the laundry side. Hello? Hello?
Okay. So about the laundry, I think it's something each family, parent or children, whoever are staying at the guest house, they'll be dealing it with the guest house. They will have their own charge and their own way. They might be picking up the laundry on a certain day. So that is something once you arrive, you need to just talk with the person at the guest house. That would be the easiest way to do it. They'll have per piece, usually just like the way it is in any guest house or a hotel, per piece cost, both for washing and ironing if required.
Okay. I have one question. We are going to be arriving on the first evening. What will be missing for the first 4 days?
Okay. I'm just going to take a look at. Okay. So I'm unable to go to that screen because, wait. Okay. No, that's not what it is. Yeah. So this is the schedule that we are working with right now. First 4 days, there will be some sessions on history and some sessions on the photography and documentation that Amar Ramesh will be taking, and one session on Vedic mathematics, one session on Sanskrit, the scientific nature, and a couple of sessions on Amar Kosh, as well as, yeah, so actually there are 2 sessions on mathematics that they'll be missing. And so first, no, actually one only, second, the next session is on August 2nd. So August 1st, also there are some arts-related sessions as well as Sanskrit and history of victories. So mostly history and the mathematics and column part also will be there. So you'll miss some of these things. The column experiential part will also be missed. Hello?
I think there is one more question here. Professor Ramasubramanian will be taking classes from Vibha. Yeah, the quick answer to that, Vibha, yes, he would be, as you can see on the screen, his classes would starting the second, right, Beluji?
No, his classes start on third, fourth, and fifth. But we have yet to hear from him. I'm guessing it will be. I mean, we've sent him a message to tell us his travel, exact travel times and things like that. So a taxi can be arranged to pick him up from the airport. So yeah, third, fourth, and fifth.
And these 3 days are actually completely dedicated to his classes in the morning, right?
Morning, and also some project work assignments that he would like children to work on in the afternoons, so that his presence would still be there. And if he agrees, we would like to have one public lecture by him as well, so which is open to all the children and all the families and everyone. So.
Okay, I have one more question. Will you be sending the presentation and this schedule you are showing via email?
Not by email. Like I said, there are a few things we need to clean up in this, and a couple of things that the information that we have received from a couple of presenters in terms of their travel timings, their return time in particular. So we would need to shift a couple of things without changing the overall structure. So until that is finalized, it will be good that we give them once they are here. So, because it's still sort of a work in progress. And I need to confirm with a couple of other local people as well this week. So, we won't be sending it by email, but we'll be giving them once they're here on 28th, along with the rest of the things that I mentioned. One other thing I forgot to mention earlier, because when we had just started discussing this particular program, there was some discussion on that this is a starting point for children to continue their learning once they go back as well. So keeping that in mind and keeping some of the topics that are covered in the program, we put together, we've compiled a bunch of reading materials, which is really running into now 400 plus pages. Some scanned material from some books, like on the, books on history, books on some presentations done by Michel Danino, because he couldn't come on his on Indian science, Indian mathematics. These are like 100 slides or something like that for each science and technology in India. And some other articles on textiles in India. One very nice article on column and the inner significance of column. Other things on Hindu empires, Hindu kingdoms, revolutionaries and warriors, things that we've selected from various books. So that particular file will also be given to the students, like just as on a Google Drive or something. So some parts from there, only some sections from there will be given as actual paper reading material, things that we would need them to go through or skim through for a couple of projects that we'll be asking them to do. Others will be just given to them electronically. So it would be nice if all the children would have their Gmail account, or so we'll take that information and we'll just upload it in the drive and give access to them. So this is something they can people that they study with later on also. It will be good resource material.
Okay, I think Mani, you wanted to ask something. Please go ahead.
I was just going to clarify one thing. Kolam is Rangoli for those who don't understand the summit.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, Mani, you have raised your hand. Do you have another question?
Yeah, I have one question. I requested both my kids be together in one room. When will I know that? Because my son is allergic to most of all the nuts and tree nuts and peanuts. Then if he needs for his sister will take care a little bit. This is first time for them.
Yeah, we'll
Priyambadaji, did Sampaji send you a list of room allotment?
Oh, okay, sure. I will check that right now.
Maniji will take care of them, making sure that they are together in a room. That's not an issue at all.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Yeah, because we had received some information from the guest house, and my understanding was that Sampaji either had sent an image of that, like a scanned photo of that, to Priyambadaji or somebody.
Yes,
so,
yes, he did. I had actually send out the room allotment spreadsheet to him, and I think once he had finalized it with the at the guest house, he had sent out the copy. But he said we could still make some changes because we were still getting some more students when that was done.
Yeah.
Sure, thank you. If we drop on 27th evening, case, I need to mention it before, right? If we drop 28th morning, no worries. But if we are planning to drop the kids on 27th evening, we have to make.
That's right. Yes.
Oh, sure. Are they allowed to bring our big boxes, like luggage boxes? Our travel bags?
You mean like a suitcase? Yeah. In the guest house, yes. They'll have to leave it in the guest house.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah. And I think somebody had a question earlier about the notebooks and pens. We probably will provide also one or two notebooks as part of their kind of like orientation kit, and pen also. So that would be also there, but it would be nice if they would want to bring their own basic stationery and things like that. And for the project works, we'll have some stationery available, like colored paper, crayons, colored pencils, and scissors and things like that, because the projects we want them to do are not necessarily computerized things. Do something creative.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think that's all the questions I have so far from the parents. We can give another minute or so to see if anyone has anything else, and then we can wrap it up. I think that's all questions we have right now. But if you have anything else, you can ask us anytime. Um, Priyamvada ji, you want to wrap it up, or Beloo ji, you want to wrap it up the presentation?
Like I said in the beginning, we really look forward to welcoming all of you here at Pondicherry and working, giving you the best experience that we can help co-create with Agastya Gurukulam and all the hard work that you all have put in. So we're looking forward to the next month, and it's a busy time here in Pondicherry as well, because August 15th is a big celebration. I also I think one thing I forgot to mention. We have finalized with Pondicherry University an exhibition that we will be doing at the main administrative building in Pondicherry University. So August 15th program would be somewhat different. So like these are the things that I said we are still shifting, because we don't know yet from the VC's office. Maybe tomorrow I will know, or Tuesday when I go there, the exact time of the inauguration that he will be inaugurating the exhibition. And this would be something we would like children to go. We'll arrange a transportation. So for them to go to big Central University right here in town and to be part of this exhibition inauguration on August 15th. And the topic is Sri Aurobindo's role in Indian freedom movement. So it's going to be interesting for them to go through these posters. And we can also share the posters later on here on Society campus also, because that day they may not have much time to explore everything. So there are about 40 posters that we worked on. So, and I'll share more with the children when they're here. What was the reasoning behind doing this kind of program? Very interestingly, this is happening in the building that is named Bharat Ratna B.R. Ambedkar building in Pondicherry University, and in a hall where the center statue is Mahatma Gandhi, and the exhibition is on Sri Aurobindo's role in Indian freedom movement. So very interesting the way it has worked out.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Beloo ji, for your time, and thank you everyone for joining us today.
Okay.
And we look forward to seeing you next week.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
okay.
you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.